we are now living at a time in which, for most people in the world, all freedom has been taken away in terms of political freedoms, social freedoms, for many, the freedom of movement because of lockdowns, the freedom even to show your face. You have to wear a mask still in many places, although they're finally, releasing that temporarily. But the governments have been acting arbitrarily. There's no more democracy. There's no more, having a say. Everything is happening in a way that is completely lawless. The law has become lawless, and your freedom of information, freedom of speech, freedom to connect and to travel very often, and to live the kind of life that had been promised before this pandemic began, plandemic if you prefer. Now we are in a much more advanced phase of the taking away of freedom, because now it's not just the freedom to think and to speak and to have the political options that one used to have, and the voice, but the freedom to live as a biological being is being now removed. And so we are seeing a time of increasing food shortages, and of soon, as the winter comes in the northern hemisphere, shortage of fuel, shortage of heat. And many will freeze and many will starve. And there are many parts of the world in which, because of drought, some of which is natural, some which may be geoengineered, there will be no drinking water for millions, including in a large part of the United States. And so we are now seeing a much more severe phase of the final act of Kali Yuga. And at the same time, we're seeing wars that are beginning to sprout, if you will, in many parts of the world. It's not just in Ukraine anymore. Just today I saw it's in Tajikistan, and Armenia and Azerbaijan are fighting, and Georgia, not the state of the U.S., that one will go to war too soon, but the country in Central Asia also threatening war against Russia. And of course, you have the China-Taiwan tensions, and you have the Korean tensions, and we could elaborate all of them, but they are increasing on a daily basis and going hot, going kinetic. So the freedom even to exist is being removed from us. And the paradox is that it's at that very moment, at the loss of all freedom, that our ultimate freedom is being conferred upon us, our divine freedom. We have lost our human freedoms, our biological freedoms, even our psychological freedoms, but our spiritual freedom is now unfolding and being revealed. And that spiritual freedom so outweighs the loss of the relative freedoms of the ego and the body, that it is that freedom that will overcome the terror and the catastrophic losses that are currently going on within the phenomenal plane. And it's that is what the Avadhuta revolution is about. Using our spiritual freedom to regain a world that is at peace, that reflects the beauty, the light, the love, the joy, the unity that spirit is, the non-duality, rather than the conflicts and the disastrous greed and desire for dominance that has taken over the world because of the collective ego. And so it is this, in a sense, battle of freedoms that we are in the midst of. And the revolution, if you choose to claim your spiritual freedom and the power that comes with it, is almighty. It cannot be defeated because the self cannot die. And it is that true nature as immortal consciousness that is what the current elites who are trying to take over cannot fight, cannot oppose, and cannot match. And so that's why we had the subtitle of the retreat as Artificial Intelligence, which in a way is an attempt to replace God with technology and human calculation that creates machinery that can outthink most ego minds. And it's that technology that, again, everyone welcomed because you thought technology gave you power. And everyone became addicted to technology and to their phones and all of the things that they have that are actually killing them with electromagnetic waves, putting microchips in your body, connecting you to the cloud. Your cars can all be now hacked and taken over remotely. Your lives have been taken over. You're absolutely enslaved and controlled by the very technology that you welcomed and became addicted to. Again, another total paradox. And it's only through the transcendence of this addictive consciousness that is dependent upon the big other and its technology, and that is non-local in its nature, that will be able to survive and thrive in that moment when the electric grid goes down and the technology will fail, but actually that will yield a higher kind of freedom. If your consciousness has already reached the unification with the cosmic morphogenetic field. So let me give you a general metaphor for the situation that we are in. Consciousness is all there is. Let's say consciousness is an ocean, an infinite ocean. If you prefer, you can say an infinite quantum unified field, although it's actually more subtle than the quantum field. Let's call it the God field, in which the quantum field actually precipitates out because it's denser. But it's an infinite field, boundaryless. This ocean of consciousness that is infinite is all that is. It's all that is. And this infinite ocean of consciousness has no parts. It is a unity. The ocean is one. You are that ocean. You are that. You cannot not be that, because that is all that is real. Please take that in and digest it. If you don't digest that, you won't be able to keep going to the absolute idea that you must grok in order to reach freedom. You are the ocean, the infinite field of consciousness. that's all pervasive, all containing, all encompassing, all inclusive, and in fact there is nothing but that. However, the ocean produces waves. Okay? Let's say the ocean is the self and each wave is a soul. The soul wave arises and gradually will subside. And when it subsides, it realizes it was never anything but the ocean. The wave is not different than the ocean. The wave, as it crests, will also produce foam. It will produce bubbles. The bubble is part of the ocean, but it's the only place where the ocean is not, inside that bubble. Okay? That's the ego. The ego is that space that's part of the ocean. It could never have been anything else but the ocean, and yet it is the lack of the ocean. It is what Hegel discovered, that being can also be nothing. The bubble is the nothing side of being. And it's only when the bubble pops, ego death, that there's a realization that you are never anything but the wave, and the wave is never anything but the ocean. And there is again peace, right? So the work of becoming an avadhuta is simply popping the bubble. But the bubble, its membrane, does not want to be popped. It wants to hold on to its identity, even though its identity keeps it in lack, because what is within the bubble is the absence of the ocean. And the negativity, the shadow, and the sense of alienation from the ocean and fear of being popped. So this is the situation, and at this moment, because we are at the end of Kali Yuga, we are approaching the omega point, and time is a circle. Time is not some infinite extended line from past into future. That's what Hegel called the bad infinity. It's a false infinity. It cannot be that way. Real infinity has to be a circle. And so as we approach the omega point, which we clearly are approaching, life soon will not be sustainable on this planet. That omega point is also the alpha point of the circle. The death, the end, is also the beginning, the rebirth. And so that we are now approaching the most auspicious moment in which we are going to go through the eye of the needle of the end, total destruction, and then total divine rebirth, not just human, but rebirth in absolute perfection, from chaos to total divine order, an absolute shift.